Hello everybody, welcome back to my Pink Room of Doom. As always, I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how to set up your short scale guitar. So this little beauty right here is an Ibanez GIO Mikro. This is admittedly like my third or fourth one that I've owned. I think I've owned 3 counting this one, so this is my 3rd one. This is the best one I've ever had. There are no fret issues or anything like that. I do have a video talking about the biggest issue with these if you want to go check that out. But I thought that it would be fun to go through and show you how to set up a short scale guitar, because there's a little bit of difference involved. Generally, it's the same kind of process, but I thought I'd just run you through it. So before we get into it, if you like the video, if you like any of my other content, please make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification, all that good YouTube stuff. Check links in the description for my Teespring store and all that kind of good stuff if you want to go check that out, help support the channel in any other way besides just subscribing. With that being said, let's go ahead and take the strings off this thing. So, as I said at the beginning, there really isn't much of a difference in setting up a short scale guitar, but there is a little bit of difference. So I figured, again, just to help you get the best out of it, if you happen to have one of these or a Jackson or a Squire, it works on anything that's a shorter scale guitar. This is a 3/4 scale guitar, so kind of use that as a reference for that. So, first things first, I got my bag of tricks here, new pack of strings. We're gonna start, if you don't have one of these Ernie Ball power peg string winder things, you should get one. They will change your life. I'll leave a link to all the tools that I'm using in the description, just to Amazon. They're not an affiliate or anything, so if you want to go pick them up, feel free. I'm not making any money. I know people don't like to support other people on YouTube, especially when they buy stuff out of the description because it's affiliate, and God forbid we make a living on this, right? This little tool right here, I also got off Amazon for like 10 bucks. It's like a 3-in-1 tool. It's got an acoustic pin puller there. It's got a string cutter on there, which I use all the time, and a string winder. So if you don't have one of those and you just want to kind of stay cheap, get one of these. Again, link in the description. So normal kind of setup stuff you can do while you have your strings off. Obviously, if you want to polish the body, you can get some Music Nomad guitar detailer. Again, link in the description. If you have a rosewood fretboard on your guitar, you can use lemon oil, but don't use lemon oil on maple. Just don't. But if you want some of that, again, link in the description. But generally what you want to do while you have the strings off is just clean it up a little bit. Looking at this, I can tell these frets are a little dull. You can take an old toothbrush and just kind of, scrub in between the frets and everything. I do like to use a little bit of the guitar detailer, just a couple of spritzes like into the toothbrush, and just scrub each fret kind of in between, just to break up some of that dirt. And like I said, using a little bit of the guitar detailer won't hurt the fretboard because you're not soaking the fretboard, but it's just enough to break up some of that dirt, and you can take a rag and just kind of wipe all that off. So I've shown this part, and this will definitely need to be done on cheaper guitars, but really any guitar that has kind of scratchy frets or like kind of oxidized frets, just simply some steel wool, some 0000 grade steel wool, and some fret guards. I actually got these off of Wish years ago for like $1, if that. And I mean, they've served me great. But again, super simple. You just take your fret guard, or you can take some painter's tape if you have that, and you just set it on the fret like that. And I usually hold the ends of the fret guard. Just take your steel wool and just gently rub. You can put a little bit of pressure, but you don't have to slam it down on there. And just do that for each individual fret. So I just want to try to demonstrate up close, or as up close as I can, kind of what the steel wool is doing. So you can see, especially like on this last fret, you can kind of see where there's little peaks of like really shiny parts, especially right there and right there. So if we can look at it, yeah, you can see there's a little bit of gritty looking stuff on there. Essentially, we're just taking that off. So I'm not going to use a fret guard for this just because I'm using one hand already, but here's the steel wool. You can see what the fret looks like there. And a lot of people will tell you to tape this up, but I'm not worried about it. And again, just a little bit of pressure, just a few seconds, and take a look at how much better that fret looks, even compared to the one next to it. Still a little bit of gritty right here, which you'd probably need something a little heavier to take that off. But again, this is just a great way to shine up your frets, make them play a little bit better, and generally keep your guitar looking nice. So once you're done with that, you can put away your steel wool and your fret guards. And again, you can go ahead and kind of take your toothbrush and just, you don't have to wet it or whatever, but you can just go and just kind of scrape off some of those metal shavings. Take your rag and just kind of wipe it off. You can kind of grab everything down here. See, a lot of people sit and say you need to tape off your pickups because the shards or whatever will stick on there. But look, I mean, all you gotta do is take and wipe it off and they come right off. It's not that big a deal, folks. If you'd like I said, you can kind of just spritz your guitar, clean it up. This is the best time to do it while you have all of the strings off, kind of get maximum clearance on everything. So now we're gonna go ahead and put some strings on. I just got some Diodario strings here. That's my preferred string brand of choice. But it's not really the brand that matters. It's the string gauge. Typically with short scale guitars, you wanna go with a higher gauge. So you wanna go with thicker strings, 10 to 52s, 11s, something like that. You don't wanna go super duper thick unless you're gonna be drop tuning this thing really low, which is kind of cool. I've done that before. But if you're gonna be playing just standard, I would say maybe go with at least 10 to 52s, at least. That's what these are. They're 10 to 52s. So play around with it, but generally speaking, that's the difference that you need to understand with short scale guitars, is that you need to use thicker string gauges. Now, if you're gonna be doing what a lot of people do with short scale guitars and tuning them up to like F standard, so beyond E, and make it like a higher tuned guitar, put 9s on it. That's totally fine. But to compensate for the shorter scale length, and so the strings aren't flubbing around, just use a higher string gauge, you know, and you don't have to go super thick. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. But here's the thing. When you put a thicker string gauge on here, because of the reduced scale, there's reduced string tension. So while the strings may feel a little bit thicker under your fingers, bending and everything is gonna feel pretty similar. So if you're used to playing 9s, 10 to 52s may kind of feel like 9s. Again, experiment around with it and just figure out what's comfortable to you. So this is a string through body, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put the strings in the back like that. And like I said, all of this stuff is pretty standard. Just string it up as you would. And then there's one other part that I like to tell everybody just when we get to it. Give me 1 second, let me put these strings on. Beautiful. All right, we got the strings on there. Here's the other part. So, generally speaking, I'm just gonna throw those over there because just throw them wherever. Generally speaking, when you put strings on a guitar, we all kind of know that you run them through the tuning peg like that. And depending on the type of tuners, if you have locking tuners, you would pull them as tight as you can, lock it up, tune it, all that kind of stuff. Well, we don't have locking tuners on this. So there's a lot of extra string, all right? A lot of people will tell you that because of the shorter scale length, you need to do like you do with locking tuners and pull it tight and then tune it. Don't do that. What I say to do is still give it a little bit of slack, but the question is, how much slack should you give it on a short scale guitar? Well, what I like to do is pull it tight like that, like you would with locking tuners, grab the string right at the base of the nut, and pull it back about a fret, maybe a fret and a half. So literally you just grab it and pull it back from the base of the nut and just pull the string back, I'd say probably about halfway. Again, play around with it with how much. To me, this feels like a little too much slack, so I'll probably pull it taut again, pull it about a fret, just to see. So fret, fret and a half on a short scale guitar, that's about right. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and just string it up like normal. And as you can probably tell there aren't too many wraps around the post, but there aren't too few. So you get the perfect amount of wraps around the post. What that's gonna do is it's going to solve the age-old problem with short scale guitars, the tuning stability. Because a lot of people will say these things don't stay in tune for anything, but it's just like every other guitar that I've demonstrated on this channel. Cheap doesn't necessarily mean bad. If you set it up correctly and you know what you're doing, you can make any guitar stay in tune through pretty much anything. So same thing, once again, take your string. We'll go ahead and line up our tuning peg there. So this is our A string. Pull it through all of the way. Especially with a string through body, you want to make sure that ball end hits the back of that plate there. Grab it at the base of the nut, pull it back about a fret, see about how much slack that gives you. I'm thinking a fret is going to work on these. That looks pretty good to me. And then what I'll do is I'll push it down at the base of the tuning peg, and just give it a turn. And then once again, you can see it goes up under the string on the post as it should, and it's perfectly wound. And that's really the secret to it. Using thicker strings to compensate for the shorter scale length, and just making sure that you don't give the strings too much slack and too little wounds around the post. That's really it. Everything else on a short scale guitar can be set up the exact same way as a regular guitar. You can set the intonation the same way, the action, adjust the neck, everything. And that's something you're certainly gonna wanna do, because these things do require a little bit more attention just because they are shorter scale length, if you're putting heavier gauge strings on there, things like that. So personally, if you're wanting to learn how to set up guitars, I think a short scale guitar is the perfect way to start because it offers a bit of a different challenge. And there we are. We have everything strung up. It's not tuned or anything, but it is strung up. Again, from here, you can do everything that you normally do. Set your intonation, set your action down here, set your neck relief, follow the TRAIN acronym. So tune, relief by the neck, action down here, then intonate, and then in, you can do noodle or you can check your nut, all that kind of stuff. I use that all the time. It does work very, very well. But yeah, that's pretty much how you set up a short scale guitar. Now, obviously we didn't go through the full setup process here. I didn't set the intonation, all that kind of stuff. This thing is pretty well set up as is because I generally use the same string gauges and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't need to set it up much after I change the strings on it. I just figured it was time to change the strings on this anyway. And I just wanted to show you guys kind of my little tips and tricks for how I get these things sounding great. So once you get the strings on there, set it up, follow all those little tips. All you'll need is a tuner, clip that on there, tune it up, stretch those strings, and you can get this thing playing and sounding a little bit like this. Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click my logo somewhere on the screen. That'll help you get subscribed to the channel if you're not already. If you want to check out some of my other videos, there should be some boxes coming up right over here somewhere. You can click one of those. It'll take you right to it. And if you want to support the channel in any other way besides just subscribing, check the link in the description of any of my videos for my Teespring store. You can pick up a shirt, hoodie, sticker, whatever tickles your fancy. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video.